Antarctica is the uninhabited continent in the southernmost part of the world. Around the middle of this continent is the southernmost point of our world, the geographic South Pole. The nature and environment here is completely different from the rest of the world. It will not be wrong to call it part of another planet on Earth. Like the desire to conquer another planet, conquering the South Pole in Antarctica has been the dream of many human societies. In this episode we will discuss about the geographical South Pole of the world. The point at which the axis of the Earth's magnetic motion intersects the Earth's surface is called the geographic South Pole. Reaching this point has been the dream of many adventurers since ancient times. In those days, without modern technology, reaching here was much like going to the moon. To understand why it is so difficult to go to the South Pole even in the present era, we must first know about the continent of Antarctica. Antarctica is the fifth largest continent in the world. Generally, the temperature in Antarctica in winter is -80 degrees to -90 degrees Celsius. Even in summer the temperature here is close to 0 degree, and the highest temperature recorded at the South Pole which is being discussed is -12 degrees Celsius. South Pole Antarctica is very much in the middle of the continent. If you want to come here from any shore of Antarctica, you have to cross many mountains and pass thousands of kilometers on an inaccessible route. It is already the highest continent in the world, and the mountains above it are covered with millions of years of ice. After all these difficulties, there is no road here. Also, it is very difficult to walk in this icy desert by determining the correct direction. Sometimes the normal wind speed here is also higher than the normal cyclone wind speed. If the weather is a little bad, then white misty darkness descends, then front, back, up, down, right, left, everywhere is only white and white. European and American explorers raced to reach the South Pole. British Captain Robert Falcon Scott, Ernest Shackleton and Edward Wilson reached within 660 kilometers of the South Pole in 1904. They were forced to turn back without conquering the South Pole due to adverse weather conditions and lack of necessary equipment. Ernest Shackleton returned in 1907 to conquer the South Pole, but due to bad weather and Shava, he had to return from 160 kilometers from the polar point. On the other hand, Captain Scott conducted the Terra Nova expedition in 1910 with public support and funding, but the Norwegian Captain Roald Amundsen was ahead of him in preparing to conquer the South Pole. In December 1911, Amundsen was the first to reach the South Pole. A month later British Captain Scott arrived here. Captain Scott's crew died of severe weather, starvation, hypothermia and frostbite on the way back, having failed in the first attempt to conquer the South Pole. Then in 1926 American explorer Richard E. Byrd was the first to fly over the South Pole. 30 years later, a laboratory named Amundsen-Scott South Pole Station was built here in honor of the two explorers who won the first pole. After Amundsen and Scott, no one else walked to the South Pole for a long time. About 45 years after them in 1958, the New Zealand explorer Edmund Hillary conducted an expedition to the South Pole on foot, who was one of the first to conquer Mount Everest in 1953. Since 1956, many scientists have been working regularly in this laboratory under the supervision of America. About 200 people live here in summer and about 50 scientists, researchers and maintainers in winter. The station houses the South Pole Telescope and the IceCube South Pole Neutrino Observatory. Advanced research in astronomy and astrophysics is done through these two infrastructures. There is no other place in the world that can be used as an alternative to the geographic South Pole for several studies. where it is very difficult to live in the continent of Antarctica, there is no need to talk about the South Pole. All the necessary equipment is provided to those living in the southernmost point of the world from the Murdoch Research Center of America on the coast of Antarctica. Also, vegetables are cultivated artificially inside the station, instead of soil. A special type of organic fertilizer is used here, which is called hydroponic nutrient solution. Apart from supplying essential items, all the waste here is brought back again through special packaging. It is not always possible to travel here even by plane, because some times of the year are so cold that the flight system of the aircraft can freeze. In 2009, Americans built a road on this desolate continent to reach the South Pole from Murdoch. The name of this road is South Pole Traverse or McMurdo, South Pole Highway. There is no stone or pitch casting on this highway. Roads are made by breaking or leveling the ice with the help of DP explosives in solid ice. It takes about 40 days to cross this 1,600 kilometers long road to Dakshin Meru Panchayat. Still, it is much safer than airplanes. In addition, road transport is more efficient than air in transporting large laboratory equipment. However, it is not possible to bring equipment here in winter. Therefore, sufficient food, medicine and necessary materials are stored before winter. Then the electricity of the station was produced with the help of 3 huge generators. In winter, not only the South Pole but the entire continent of Antarctica is isolated from the rest of the world, because the sun does not rise here for 4 consecutive months in winter. Conversely, in summer, the sun moves around the horizon, but never sets. When the moon rises in the night sky of Antarctica, it can be seen for a week. The reason why the sun does not rise in Antarctica throughout the winter is because the Earth moves farthest from the sun in July. Due to the lack of heat from the sun, it was very cold in Antarctica at that time. So this time is the winter of Antarctica, with only 1 day and 1 night throughout the year. The South Pole has no time system of its own. Researchers here use local time or the time of a nearby country. The height of the South Pole is rising by about 8 inches per year due to snow. The central dome of the South Pole serves as a warehouse. Day by day it is buried under ice and snow. Many buildings of the station have already collapsed. To prevent the new building from being covered by snow, it has been designed in such a way that the height can be increased as needed. The actual position of the South Pole is constantly changing due to the movement of the Earth's tectonic plates. The ice sheet of the South Pole is also moving at a rate of about 33 feet per year. Although there are about 200 countries under the 6 continents of the world, there is no country in the continent of Antarctica. The main reason for this is that there is no permanent settlement of people here. However, in this coldest desert, covered in snow all around, there are penguins, seals, whales, a variety of algae and according to some plants. Many whales come here after traveling thousands of kilometers during the Antarctic summer, because at that time, large amount of shrimp-like animal krill was found in the Sea of Antarctica. These animals are the favorite food of whales. At the beginning of the 19th century, people first started coming to Antarctica to collect whale blubber. Mineral oil was not yet discovered, so it was accepted commercially to meet the demand for oil. Friends, if you like our video, give a like to the video and share it with your friends and then tell us in the comments on what basis you want the video. We will try to give you such videos.